Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
Are you trying to mute me? No, it's just real loud, and I can't.
I sold Amazon, but it was $25.
Listening to listen, not listening to respond.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. Matthew Hodgman.
Hello, Jed. How are you?
Good. Good.
It's always good to see you, my friend.
This is a good piece for me because I like these deeper dives into the actual education and meat and potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. Of what it is that White House Custom Color really offers people to really zone in on what are the things that we can do or provide for photographers and our customers to really help them be successful. Right. So that's how I categorize this conversation that you and I are about to have. First off, tell me who you are and give me a little bit of your background.
We've met before, Jed.
We have a couple times.
Oh, okay. So I am, like you said, I'm Matthew Hodgman. I owned a professional photography studio for over 20 years. Traveled with Mike Hanline and White House in the early 2000s as the whole world was changing, film to digital and all the things that we encountered there. Taught for White House, educated on a national platform along with you and Vicki. From time to time, we bump into each other on the road. I had the opportunity to join White House actually almost exactly 3 years ago as their client success manager. So what that means is I'm working one-on-one with photographers as a good communication between the lab and the photographer, so we have a common connection of somebody who speaks the studio language, but also understands the lab portion of it. So we understand that there's things that are possible and things that aren't possible, and that we have an open line of communication there. So doing a lot of coaching, a lot of work with people on custom projects, on whatever comes along. That's what my role is here at White House.
It is interesting. I don't know if I really had put it together before, but you and I are in a unique position at the lab, and there are several people that work at the lab that kind of have a photography studio on the side, or they do weddings or whatever. Yeah. But you and I feel like are unique in that we've been studio owners for a very long time.
Yes, very long time.
in short, we're older than a lot of other people. But it made me wonder. Okay, you mentioned like back in the transitional days from film to digital, and of course we both went through that or struggled through that, as it were. Tell me though, because we're going to talk about products today, and specifically we're going to talk about you call them icing products. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep. I think icing is just kind of a fun little catchphrase for them. You could call them add-ons. You could call them bonus. You could, they could be used for marketing. There's a lot of uses for what we're going to talk about today. And they're, like big bang for your buck, essentially. Something that you could provide to a client that's not going to cost you a ton of money, that the perceived value when they receive it is quite high.
Exactly. And that's very well said, perfectly said. And it makes me think, though, based on what you were saying and how I can look at both of us as experienced people in the industry, how do you think that the add-on products or icing products have changed over the years? Because I don't remember being very focused on them a couple decades ago. I don't want to say that the concept didn't exist, but I feel as though add-on products or icing products certainly have evolved in the last couple decades.
Absolutely. You think back, Jed, to, late 90s, early 2000s, and, what were you selling? You were selling large photo prints, probably a good handful of 5x7s, 8x10s, a ton of wallets. We were adding frames back at the studio, like all the things, very manual, but we didn't have this plethora of diversity in all these products that we have now. Now,
right.
For those of you that are watching today and listening that have had the opportunity to tour White House and have been at our new building on campus where we do, some really in-depth things, the process that goes into these is mind-blowing, especially like, we'll talk about image cubes, but the process of that product alone is just, it's amazing, that those start here and end here and the magic happens between,
Yeah.
I think back in the day, we just didn't have them to offer.
Right.
Our minds would have been blown.
Yeah.
If all these,
it wasn't even on the radar. Right.
I can remember, Jed, being at WPPI in the White House booth talking to Mike, and they were just launching press cards.
Yeah. Like 05.
I don't remember what year it was, but I can remember, talking with people about that and thinking about all the use cases that you could do with these double-sided cards, just, mind blown. And then again, when we were doing our senior model program, you order the 10x10 peel and stick book and you order the photo prints and you have to put them in. And if you put a wrinkle in one, you throw the whole thing away and start over, and then these magical press books came along and, and how that's evolved. And now we're doing, these gorgeous albums. It's amazing how quickly they get through production and the options and the new lay flat books and soft cover and hardcover. I mean, the depth of these things is incredible. And the time they get out and the cost is amazing. Like I think that's part of the beauty of it. Yeah, absolutely. Right? If we'd have had these back in the day, when we were rocking and rolling and, for seniors and for families, man, the sky's a limit on this stuff.
It's funny because when I think of an add-on product from 15, 20 years ago, the first thing that comes to my mind is like the 4x10. Right, where we would order 8x10 twice, right, and then have it cut in the middle, and then put two 4x10s in 4x10 frames that we had specifically made, and then that was like a huge deal. For someone to add on at the very end. I think we called it an eclectic or something because it was, it's a real panoramic aspect ratio, and it was like, for us it was like $7, I think, for the frame, and like, who knows, like $2 for the print. I think we had to pay $25 to have it sliced in half or something like that. But so the concept was there, right? It's like this. It's actually a really pretty panorama that we put together, and it was usually like 3 or 4 separate images that we would work together in Photoshop, right? Some of those are probably
may not have borrowed that idea from you.
but it was a great, because the concept is great, right? The concept is the same then as it is now. You're giving somebody something that has a very high perceived value, that doesn't take a tremendous amount of work or effort on our end, but it's a perfect add-on to kind of bring up after the main. Like if you're selling wall portraits or albums, like on the other side of that, you can say, hey, this is great for an office desk or whatever. So I'm super intrigued to get into some of the things that you have to show me. I'm aware of some of them, and some of them not quite as much. Some of them are newer than others, right? But the very first thing I want to do is let's spend a second talking the basic importance for people that are maybe even still on the fence at really selling and offering products to begin with. If someone comes to you, considering your job and your position, and says, I want to do this, I'm hesitant to do this, I have been for a while, I don't really know where to begin in offering products in general, what do you say?
I always begin that conversation with a series of questions back. You have to get, in order to get a person to really get to the, like you were talking about meat and potatoes of maybe where this decision lies, is to find out what they're afraid of. Like what is actually holding
what's
you
stopping
back?
you?
What's stopping you? You know, is it that you are afraid to put your files into print, that you've actually never seen one in print and you're concerned about the way they look on the screen versus how they look on, you know, paper or on a physical product? That's a very real concern. Am I talking to somebody who doesn't have maybe the ability or the desire to come up with a product list and doesn't understand how to price? You know, you and I have had the pricing conversation, you know, hundreds of times, and we've worked and coached with people at events on, you know, where your pricing really should be. You know, and you can't take a $5 8x10 with some finishing on it and charge $10. It just, you know, you're not taking things into consideration. You know, you have to think about all the things that go into that. You know, that there's multiple directions to go with that conversation, but I think what it ends up funneling down, you know, to what is the biggest fear here? What's holding you back? Well, I don't know how to price. Okay, I can help you with that. Let's start simple. You know, let's pick out 4 products that you want to start offering. Okay, let's digest that. Let's get some wind in your sails. You know, if you might, not to no pun intended, but like learn how to sell. And selling doesn't have to be pressure. It's just suggestive. You know, if I'm going in to buy clothing and somebody is a real, you know, professional about what fits my body type, I want to know from them what they feel is the best on me.
Yeah.
Same with photography. You know, I think a lot of times people ask for digital files now because they don't know what else to ask. It's like the question, how much is your 8x10 from back in the day?
Yeah.
Nobody knew what else to ask. So that was the question, you know,
like the default almost.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and just because somebody says, oh, I want to buy the digital files, they're not also saying I don't want print, because if they want the files, they're gonna print them at some time. They're gonna end up on their walls, hopefully, and not in a desk drawer.
Hopefully,
Hopefully, you know, so that conversation can go 150,000 different directions. But I think if you can ask the questions and have somebody give you back real answers that are truly how they feel in their heart of hearts, then you can start that funnel down and say, okay, this is really the root cause of why you're not wanting to do this. Let's work on that together. And
so I think that one of the things that I think you'll agree with me here on is, and we're going to be talking about these add-on products specifically, but when someone goes to the White House website and clicks on the products tab and sees all the options, right? And we're going to be, and again, we're taking a deeper dive into some of those options specifically today. You don't need to offer everything. You said 4. That's a perfect way. Pick 4, pick 6, pick 3, whatever. Pick what it is that you're drawn to and start there. Is that fair to say? Like begin at the beginning?
Absolutely. You know, and my mom used to have a retail store, and I can remember her saying when I was a kid, she's like, I will never go to market and buy something at market that I don't personally want to own, because I may end up with it. You know, and if you're and if you're picking out products, you know, you are going to sell what you love. Hands down. You know, if you are a big advocate of float frame canvases, you are going to sell float frame canvases. If you have a more contemporary style and you love metals and you use them in your home just to have a use case for that, you're going to sell metals. So, you know, I would strongly recommend somebody who's just thinking about, you know, getting into product, or if they're already doing product sales, and we're going to, you know, move on to talking about icing stuff, go to the stuff that you're attracted to, the things that you know that you would use in your own personal world, because then it's easy peasy, because you have a real world story connected to it.
Well, with that being said, what's the first icing product? Okay, and here's the last thing I want to get to. During the sale itself, the icing products, these add-ons, it's pre-planned, right? It's not just like, oh, by the way, I just thought of this. Like, you go into this ready, right? with these products, so that when the time comes in the sale, they can be offered or suggested or presented.
Absolutely. Yep. And especially if you are somewhat new to doing sales appointments or in-person sales, taking an hour beforehand to prep yourself and to have a plan ready is going to help you immensely as far as your own stomach goes, and your own nerves and everything of going into that, and for people that are doing wall portrait sales and using the iPad app, the studio app, fantastic way to build wall collages and to get people thinking about that. But if you have a legitimate plan from start to finish, and you're very rarely going to have a client just sit there and go like, yep, I want it all, thank you very much for planning that. But at least it gives you a jumping off point instead of it's like going into a high level meeting, Jen. If I bring to you 10 topics to just discuss, we're gonna sit there for 2 hours, and we're gonna come out no further ahead than we were 2 hours prior to that. If you bring in suggestion A, B, C, and then it's go, no go, or I really gravitate towards this one as a client, but I'd like to change this to this, great. Because once people can start to visualize things, it just makes it easy to buy,
Right. So, well, speaking of that, let's visualize the first Icing product.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to start with what I would say would be probably my favorite. And it's also one of the most recent for White House, and that's going to be the acrylic blocks. So for those of you that haven't seen the blocks, now I'm going to hold them up here. It's probably not going to be the best representation, but again, Jen mentioned the website, so you can go there and check them out. They're awesome. Trust me. So
I mean, if you're just listening to this, if you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening to this as a podcast, you can go to the website, kind of follow along to get an idea of what Matt's talking about. On YouTube, you'll actually be able to see it.
Absolutely. So the acrylic blocks are available in 4x6, 5x7, 8x8, 8x10. And they're beautiful. They're 1 inch thick. They have a fine art glossy print that has black styrene mounted behind them. Okay. So I'm just going to hold up. This is a 5x7 version in front of me here right now. I'm going to turn it to the side so you can see the depth of this. It's just beautiful the way the light comes in and reflects back out.
It's like crystal.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great high-end feeling, heavy-duty, very easily placed in a home or an office or wherever you want to do it.
Because it sits up. It sits upright. Just sits there.
Yep, exactly. One of our good friends in Wisconsin, he sells these as a pair. So he does an 8x10 and then a 5x7. So if you're doing a family session, the family's on the 8x10, maybe the kids are on the 5x7, so it's a nice little grouping together. Always thinking multiples. It's a really good way to build your sales. Now with this one, if we want to talk about icing products, this is really a fun idea. So this card is the actual design of a baby announcement. That was designed in studio. Now, if you are doing baby announcements, you're doing grad announcements, you're doing Christmas cards, whatever the occasion is, the work is done. The design work is all done. The client has invested in that. They love it. But what a great way to keep each year of like your holiday card or your grad announcement for a keepsake forever, or your children's birthdays or milestones or family reunion, whatever that may be. What a great way to do that. I can imagine at Christmas time, having 10 of these sitting out for the last 10 years of your holiday cards.
Yes.
I mean, how
put them
cool
up on the mantle or on the table so that they're all kind of spread out.
Yeah. And if you have children, for them to look back and see how they've changed, within a year.
Through the years.
That to me, if you had a display of those out in your studio, in your sales room, or had them displayed on your website, that sells itself. Because people can visualize that. They can be like, oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's a good way.
It's one of my favorite ideas, not just because of the sentimentality that you're discussing, right? And I love the over the years piece too, but I also love the idea because my mind as the back end studio owner guy is like, you've said this before, the work's done, the design's done, right? Yep. It's finished. literally all you're doing is ordering it the same exact thing in a different product. You're not doing anything else. It's already finished.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. And it's just it's icing on top.
Yeah, it's icing, and it's just kind of one of those no-brainer things to do, right?
Yep. Absolutely. And then I've got an 8x10 here in my lap as well, Jed. So, a lot of times people will use just a single solid image in the acrylic blocks, that's fantastic. But if you take that to another level and you create a fun template and you put the family name and, the kids' names or whatever that is for a date stamp on there, you don't have to just do an image. It can be whatever you want it to be. And again, once the template's built, all you have to do is just swap out the names and print. And you're good to go.
And they can get a lot of these designs from us. People can get a lot of designs from us,
right?
For nothing,
right? Exactly.
they're also
for
free.
The grand total of 0.
Again, because that's where my mind goes from a studio owner standpoint, and I love the thought of it being presented and being out there and being able to offer these products, but my mind always goes to as the business part of me does, like, what's this going to require? Like, what do I have to do? So I love the concept of it already being done. I love the concept of the designs being available. And I love the fact that they don't cost anything.
Yep. If I had my studio space, I would be implementing that immediately.
Right away. Yep.
Right away. Because you bring a sample in, you have, a senior and you have a family for holidays and you set them out and you explain how that works. Done.
Well, and again, to reiterate what you said about the acrylic blocks being one of your favorite options, they're also one of mine too, because they're not priced very high. They're priced very reasonably, in my opinion. I think, what do they start at? $39.
Yeah, they're. Now you're gonna put me on the spot here, Jed. I don't have all this memorized.
I think that's what it is. I think it's right around $39, but you can certainly offer them for quite a bit more than that, and if that scale is all over the place for different people. But the heft, they're beautiful, but they weigh a lot. They're heavy, and you associate quality with heft. At least I do. You feel that, and you're like, oh, this is really nice, right?
That's why we're both so quality, Jed, because we've got good heft.
I'm gonna tell my wife that later on. You're looking at quality.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, what's next? What else do you have?
All right. So next up, let's just talk about this really fun idea that we concepted here for image cubes. Do you guys use image cubes in your studio?
Not as much as some of the other things. This would be one of the lesser things that we sell.
Got it.
Not quite as often.
Okay, so the traditional use for an image cube is what I'm holding up in front of the camera right now. And for those of you that are just listening along, this is a 4x4. It's the small image cube. It's got 6 sides, an image on each side. It's a beautiful little newborn baby that's on here. These are very, very popular. And again, this is one of my favorite products to see actually be made. It's fun. It's magic how they come together. So one of the questions that I despise the most in my own household is when I get home from work, and it's that dreaded question of, what are we going to do tonight? And I just don't like that question at all. So this fun little image cube that I'm holding now kind of takes the guesswork out of that. So, what if you decided between, you and your spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever is there, whoever gets home first picks out what you're actually going to do that night. How about try a new restaurant? How about go out for dessert? How about we go on a picnic tonight? How about we rent a movie? It's a fun little interactive thing, and you could toss it in the air, you could spin it on the floor, you could do whatever you want, but it's one of those things that if in your studio, if you've got good merchandising area, in front of where your clients are going to sit, you put this out along with maybe a traditional image cube, and it is going to start the conversation. It's going to draw people to that. Now, whether you sell it or not, that's probably going to be up to your own sales ability, but
Right.
it gets the conversation started about these fun things that I'm doing. Oh, I'd never thought of that. What a cute idea.
Other use cases. That's what I like about it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just think this is just awesome. So
That is fun.
I believe that we will implement this at home.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So that's another fun one of mine. And again, high perceived value for a relatively low entry cost.
They are magically made. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So do you want to see some more?
I do.
Cool. Okay. So let's bump over and talk about the little bamboo ornaments here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So the bamboo ornaments were new to us last year. I'll hold one up here. So this is an example of the bamboo. And this is, what would you say? This is probably 2 inch by 2 inch. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick. It's a bamboo panel, just a little tiny one. And these are sold on the website and through Rose as an ornament. And within Studio, there's actually pre-designed options that you can just drag and drop images into. So it makes it super easy. Different color ribbons, all the things. These don't just have to be ornaments. You could use these for anything, people are getting out and traveling again. They're getting together with family that they haven't seen, for over a year. A lot of these huge VRBO houses are being rented out for big family gatherings and things. How fun would it be if you took off the little ribbon and put on a great big ribbon and you use these as like a way to mark bedroom doors?
Yeah.
This is this person's room. This is this person's room. It has, maybe a commemorative, saying or date or something on the front, and then an image on the back, like
for a keepsake.
For a keepsake, you could, if you really wanted to, you could hang this on your rearview mirror.
Isn't that where I said I had to I got to get rid of my dice?
Yeah, exactly. But there, just because it is technically, marketed as a ornament, it doesn't have to be. This could be anything. A lot of people are doing wonderful things with their custom packaging right now. You take one of these ornaments and you put an image on it from the session, put your logo on the back of it, and that gets tied onto your premium packaging. Whether they use it for an ornament or not is immaterial.
It's a surprise. It's a gift.
Yep, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And there is no better way to give somebody the warm, fuzzy feels than to surprise them with something that they absolutely were not expecting.
Absolutely.
That could be attached to a premium package or on the way out, or it could be, drop shipped to them later, or, that kind of stuff has tremendous power.
You can drop ship those out even as Christmas gifts so they don't need to be relegated. I like how you're saying, I hear you saying that they don't need to be relegated to just the holidays, to merely the holidays for a holiday ornament. You can use them for events and different things all year round. But they can also be gifts that come when someone comes to pick up an order any time of the year, right? And you could drop ship them and send them as a gift during the holiday season as a surprise.
Right. Yeah.
Love that idea.
Yeah. Pick out, out of your client list, the people that have really invested with you, and go down 25 deep and, send those out. You will get more mileage and warm fuzzies out of that than, it'll blow your mind.
You consider that a marketing expense or an advertising expense, as part of that piece of your budget, and you'll get a tremendous amount of wonderful feedback for that. I have a sense.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. So I really love the bamboo ornaments. To me, they kind of have a little mid-century feel to them. Talking about the heft again, as the bamboo panels, they're substantial. This is the same way, for this little, ornament being, size-wise pretty small, it's got a really nice feel to it. They are solid. It's not a hollow core. So it's a nice quality piece, prints on both sides. So I would really be interested to hear all of the different use cases that people could potentially come up with.
Oh yeah.
I think I know we have a lot of creative people listening. So let's, are you ready for another one?
I am.
Okay.
Ready
Perfect.
to go.
So as you're building your price list and as you're doing your products, it's always good to have different price points of things. Now, the things that we've looked at so far, the acrylic blocks, inch cubes and these little ornaments, you have 3 uniquely different price points.
Sure.
So if somebody gets to the end of their sale and you're talking about gifts or, who's going to get, a print or whatever that is, it's always good to have an idea in mind of what the budget, may be. So
Sure.
You're not talking about something that's $1,500 and they're thinking it's going to be $125. So it's good to have things all the way through in case somebody's like, yeah, that's a little bit more than what I was thinking of. Okay, well then, this would be a really awesome option. Okay.
Right.
So this concept came from a friend of ours in Ohio, and she is using, let's hold this up to the camera here. So she's using a 5x7 wood image box, like the one I'm showing here. She prints the top. She does a custom engraving on the back of the front panel. This one doesn't have it. On hers, they do. And then she's offering these with either 5 of the little matted prints, which I'm going to pull one of these out here. So it would be a print that looks like that, or 10 mounted prints. And she's landing this. I don't know. Should we talk about price at all, Jed? Is that okay to mention on here?
I like talking about price.
Okay. So that is $525 at her studio as an add-on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about a 5x7 wood box, 10 5x7 mounted or 5 matted, for $525 as an add-on item, or after you've already done your complete sale, man, add that on all day long. And
it's a bang for your buck I think it's a bang for your buck, certainly from the photographer's end, like from us, but you can also present these icing products in the same way for your clients. Now, whether that's $525 or whether that's $350 or whether that's $875, I don't know what your price needs to be for these things, but you can certainly position them in your price list as something that carries a lot of value to it, right? So that it's actually difficult for your client to be like, oh, no, I'm not interested in that. They see it, they see the value in it, and they really want it, right?
Yeah. And if these are considered add-on products, I would, in my world, this would have already been an image that was used in something else. So the retouching is done.
The work's done.
The work is done. All you have to do is click the button and order it. And, you have something that you're going to have, an 8 to 10x markup on for just adding on and asking the question. When I'm coaching and talking to people about sales and pricing, the answer is always no, unless you ask. So, the worst that can possibly happen is somebody says, no, that's out of my budget. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we should look at this then. Oh, okay. Well, that's closer to it. Be crafty, be ready, have options available.
Be ready. I like it. I like it. And I also like the concept of, with this product in particular, because of the 5 to 10 images, depending on how do you order them. It's a great way if you have a family session that gets narrowed down, or a senior session that gets narrowed down from several images, obviously initially, to not near as many, but still quite a few, right? and they get their wall portrait, or they get their wall grouping, and there's still there's half a dozen, maybe there's a dozen images they still really like. But those aren't going to go on the wall. This is a great way for them to have those images as physical products, that they're not spending another $2,000 or $3,000 on. They've done that, right? They have that in the bag with what they really want, but you can still offer them these other images, right?
Exactly. And, this in her words was kind of a midway point for somebody who maybe wasn't able to or couldn't invest in an album on top of their order. This was
Perfect
a really
example,
good option. Right. And I think back, to doing sales for, umpteen years, and there was always magically, like you're talking about, this leftover group that maybe didn't make the initial cut, but they didn't want to let them go either. And there was always a certain number that stayed around. And then at the very end of the sale, it's like, okay, well, now we have the 17 images that are left over. If you wanted to keep all of those, I would suggest doing this. And I would say 8 times out of 10, Jed, whatever came out of my mouth, people were like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Because it's a good option, and you're ready for it.
Yeah, it takes no
right.
time to add these things on. So,
Right.
okay, so can I hit just two more real quick before we hit the road here today? Do we have
Yeah,
time?
let's do it. Yeah, let's do two more.
Okay, so I'm just going to start with a personal story. So we're going to talk about press cards and stationery next, just to kind of preface this. So years ago, I went to Chicago and stayed at the Fairmont Hotel. Had an amazing high-end luxury experience. The people knew my name walking down the hall. I had no idea who they were, but they knew who I was. And they had a house Bentley that you could actually be driven around in, courtesy of the hotel. And I thought, I'm a car guy. So I'm like, this is fantastic, and there were certain people that were just stellar during my stay there. So I got home and I wrote a letter to the general manager, and I got this beautiful letter back on this awesome paper and, beautiful envelope and all the things. And I still remember that. So with that being said, we have this phenomenal tool called Studio. For those of you that haven't checked it out, we have an amazingly talented design team that comes up with wonderful, trendy designs, and a lot of which are being transitioned and useful for stationery.
Yes.
So all the beautiful designs, the papers, and you're able to go in, utilize these designs, customize them, and then put your studio image, your information on it, and then send them out to your clients. What a great thing in a digital age to be able to write a handwritten note and send it in the mail to somebody in a beautiful envelope with a beautiful piece inside. It leaves an impression. So
to get a handwritten piece anytime it's a delight these days.
It is. It's a treat to get that in the mail. So this is just one example. I'm just going to hold up to the camera here. And for those of you that are just listening, this is a foil, and I'm just kind of moving it back and forth so you can see how that glimmers. And then on the back, this is just left open for stationary usage.
Yep.
Okay. So awesome example there. And then if you take that to the next step, so if you have a sales room, you have your reception area, why not take a cool little 5x7 image box and make that the place where that stationery lives? So it has a very high-end feel to it. Again, this is another hand-drawn, hand-created design from our internal design team here, created into stationery with a boutique
About
cut.
how many cards can I put in that one? Do you know? Do you have a sense?
You could probably
100.
I would say between 50 and 75 probably.
Okay. Yeah.
We do have the double thick and the triple thick, available too, which is that would leave quite an impression. So, with that story I told from my own personal experience and the availability and the ease of doing that now, it's tremendous. Also, we went through and we updated envelopes last fall with these awesome Euro style flaps, which are super cool, super trendy, many different colors. This one has black printing on it, but we can also do white as well. And we can also do recipient addressing as well as return address as well. So, if you have your whole client list from the year and you want to send them out a handwritten note, at the end of the year or in the first quarter, or whenever you think you want to ping them, whether it's with a marketing offer or not, you could export that list, order the stationery, spend a couple of nights writing notes, and it's just a nice, warm, fuzzy touch that doesn't cost you a lot, that has a tremendous perceived value.
Because you could have a marketing offer on one side and use a handwritten note on the stationery on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
It's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and it'd be well received. It's not a huge marketing piece. It's relatively low cost, and since it has a handwritten note, it means to that person that you truly, do care and remember about them.
It's super unique. There's that personal touch. And when you're going through your mail, right, initially, if it's merely a marketing piece, right, I feel like they're going to look at it, and if, and as they're just going through their mail, it gets put to the side or it gets put on the table, and maybe they don't give it much more of a thought, kind of falls through the cracks or whatever. Mm-hmm. But even if you put it in the envelope so that when they pull it out, the first thing they see is the handwritten note, mm-hmm. they're going to look at that. They're going to take some time and actually take that in as they're realizing, man, they hand wrote this. That's a big deal. And then they see the marketing piece, and you want them in that frame of mind where they see the marketing piece or the offer that you have for them, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yep. Totally. Okay. So let's play with one last thing here.
Okay.
So we have these fun little products and they look like Polaroids and we call them mini snapshots. For those of you that have not seen them, they are as cute as a button. Okay. This is one fun little use case for them. So we basically just took a string and some cute little paper clips and put them on here. Now I've seen these when I go to grad parties, engagement parties, weddings, things of that nature. People use just the snapshots. They can also combine 8x10s, 5x7s. They can use a string light to hang them from. So when it gets to be dusky out, the light from the string light illuminates the images on there.
I like that.
Just a really fun, trendy way to do that. Grad parties, you could do a number of these and throw them out on the tables, or, in the day and age where we all have 8 zillion pictures on our phone, have that client send you a bunch of those images from their phone of them with their family or friends or whatever, and offer to print them. They're such a low cost item, and again, perceived value. Put them in a cute little box and deliver them with their final order to put out at the grad party. You can take a pen and write at the bottom like a little greeting, or you could put your website or something on there, because if you're providing them to them at no charge or lower cost, whatever, completely up to you. There's so many use cases for these.
Well, I like that little stand you just had there too.
Oh yeah,
I like that use case and putting in that clip.
Yeah, so I think that all this is just like if you're doing a formal dinner, you can clip a name tag in there or something. But
or the grad party thing too. I like that.
Yep, exactly. So individual use, the string is a really good use. This is another fun way to do it too. So let's just say that you're doing a view and order appointment, a sale, and the mom of a senior has invested in a 10x10 or 12x12 album or 11x14, whatever that is. And the daughter or the son says, well, I'd really like to have one of those too. And the mom's like, well, and it's great if they're like, yeah, we'll take 2. And then you just go, yes, and hit the 2 button instead of the 1. But if that's not available, what a fun thing to do with these little mini snapshots. You take every image that's in that album, print them off individually, provide them to that senior, and let them scrapbook with them.
I like it.
Then they can write their little notes, tape them to the pages. Again, if you have, images on your iPhone that you want to print off, it's just the possibilities are endless with these things. And the perceived value versus the actual cost is, tremendous.
Well, I love having an example of that too, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's ready, in your studio, in the sales appointment, like have it ready, have one done. With a few different pages so that they can guide it. Because there's a lot of kids too that will gravitate towards that just because of the creative piece associated. Like they'll want to do that, right? But again, they have to know that it exists in order to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, you'll be swimming upstream if you try to sit there and describe to somebody how cool it could be, and you can't just hand it to them, and let them experience it. You want that in their hands. You want them to touch, feel, see the things in front. And when I go into studios, I always talk about like your most valuable real estate in your studio. So if you're working in one big open space and you're selling in one area, chances are the place where somebody is sitting and watching the session happen, like if it's a parent, that's very valuable real estate. Also, where you're sitting to do your sales, whatever is on the wall around that screen, around that TV, that's your money wall right there. Mm-hmm. So, thinking about that and taking that into concept and making sure that if you're going to add some of these icing products on, that they appear in that area and they're displayed nicely. Think about when you go into, a high-end store or even a Home Depot. When you walk into Home Depot and it's a spring, what do they have right in front of you when you walk in the door, Jen?
Well, I always notice the grills right away.
Absolutely. The grills are right there because what dude doesn't love grills? I
go there. I look at the grills and the mowers every year at that time of year, and I just walk through and they have me, like they got me. And I don't even need a grill. And I don't even need a mower. But I still like to see, look at the new feature they have on this. And then I'm trying to, explain to my wife why our current grill is junk and why I might need this upgrade.
And you probably get the same response that I would get. No, Matt, we don't need a new grill. Come on.
I hear the no as I'm walking to look at said grill.
But think about that, in your business, like people in retail merchandising, they put in front of you what they want to sell you.
Oh man.
So
a
when
lot
you're
of thought
designing-
goes into that, into the way things are laid out, and we should be doing the same thing in our studios and in our sales rooms in particular. We should be ready and prepped, and again, like you said, have those available, have samples available, have options available that they can actually look at and hold and see and feel with their hands. I like it.
Absolutely. What is one of the most famous sayings that you've heard from the platform over the years? You can't sell it if you don't show it.
Don't show it. Right.
And that is the truth right there.
It's 100% true. Icing products. This was great. Lots of fantastic ideas, lots of exciting things happening. Always new stuff coming down the pike. I like to see it. Thank you for your time and showing us. And if people want to get a hold of you or us, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I would recommend, if you're new to White House or if you're just looking for additional information on these products, you can actually go to the website and you can schedule I think it's a 30-minute time frame with a customer service representative, and you'll be able to choose once you get to the page of the different topics that you want to talk about. So then you get basically assigned a person for that one-on-one consultation that knows that product or knows the answers to those questions that you're looking for. It's a really cool thing. We've had tremendous response to it. So that time is yours. You have a dedicated representative that is going to answer your questions. You can schedule right there. That's probably the best way to begin, to go on and schedule with CS.
That sounds like a wonderful step, even for someone that's been in the biz for a while. Run some ideas by, get some new ideas, huh? It's always a good idea to run different concepts through another set of eyes or through someone else's brain.
Yep, and I know somebody that we both know that does those consultations as well.
Yeah, I'm aware of her too.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me this though, that sounds like a fantastic idea. How much does something like that cost?
Well, it's the grand total of free.
Once again.
Yeah,
I love it. I always have to bring that part up because I'm pretty proud that we're part of this organization that really does offer so many resources to help people become successful or be more successful for nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you and I have both known the family and known the business for a long time, and there truly is a plethora of people here at White House that truly care and are very vested and invested into a successful future for photography, and that's awesome, whether it be in product design, in education support, in supporting trade shows and events across the USA, in one-on-one support for our clients. I mean, you name it, we are truly here for photographers.
Well said, Matthew. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. I will be seeing you soon, I am sure.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jed.
Have a good one.
All right, take care.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right. Right there. It's there somewhere.